welcome back to my channel. My name is Sierra, and today I want to make some pigment pastes. I did a review on the Hippie Crafter epoxy resin and mica powder. Although I couldn't continue using the resin and hardener together. It just didn't agree with me. I didn't want to let the resin part go to waste. This here has very, very little odor, the resin part. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to go through, I know there's a lot of videos out there that do their own pastes. But I did notice that the mica powders that from Hippie Crafter, very pigmented. So I didn't want it to go to waste, and I want to make my own pigment pastes. I already made some up, and I thought I will turn on the camera and let you see how these turned out. And I noticed that some are more pigmented than others. But I did the pastel purple, and just to show you, this one was a very pigmented powder. I could probably add more pigment to it, but I didn't see the need to. So I used maybe half of this. And this is what it looks like. And it is very nice. Look at that. Very nice pigment. So I'll show you the other ones I made too while we get started on this. And I'll walk you through what you're going to need. This one I used a little bit more. It's the phthalo blue. You can see I used a little bit more. I used about 3/4 of the blue. And this is what the phthalo blue looks like. I could have made this one just a little thicker, but it's not that big of a deal. It all goes by preference, how thick you want your pigments. You want it real thick, more pigment, less resin. And let me wipe this off so I can use it again. I don't want to waste all my sticks. Okay, and I'll show you the other one I did. Now this one is the wine. And I used all of the wine pigment in there. I mean, that is just gorgeous. I hope my camera is picking up that color. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. So it depends, the pigment, it all depends on how pigmented you want it, how thick you want it. So I kind of worked out how I want mine. What I used and what you're going to need is you're going to need some form of measuring cup. These are the ones that I have. I have a couple sets. I have a black set in this set. You're going to need something that is for your craft room only. This does not go into my kitchen. I got this from the dollar store. I just think that's so cute. And I just store it with one of these little rings. I just slide it through and I just stick it with my stuff. And the one I'm going to use, I'm going to get the 1/4 cup. Okay, so you're going to need one of those. You're going to need a mortar and pestle. I got this glass one. I'll try and find, see if I have links for everything. But you don't really need one of these. You could just put it on a glass plate and mix it up. But this does a really good job with it. You're obviously going to need something to put it in when you're done mixing it. Got these little pots here. I don't remember how much this holds. You know, how many grams or whatever. So you're going to need a pot. You're going to need your pigment of choice. I'm going to do the red on camera. See how that one turns out? I use my little measuring spoon, so I can be a little bit more consistent. You're going to need something to, I like these to scrape, to do the initial mix, and one is for the clear resin, and one is to actually scoop it out and put it in the container. The reason I use one for a clear resin is when I'm done doing the red, I'm going to clean this out and I'll do another color, possibly off camera. You're going to need some baby wipes. I like to use baby wipes and paper towel, and I just cut my paper towel. I double it up and cut it. Gonna need some paper towel. You're gonna need isopropyl alcohol. I use the 91%. That is to clean off all your tools and clean this up for the next one. And the most important thing, other than your pigment, is you're going to need either part A or part B of your epoxy. Not part A and part B. You don't want this to cure. When you're using resin, the 1-to-1 resin, when you do it by volume, at the end you're going to have either part A or part B left over, and instead of tossing that out, you can make your own pigment paste. So that's why you can either use part A or part B. I'm obviously going to be using the part A of this one. That's what I usually do, the part A. The part A is the one that doesn't discolor. How I start this off is I'm gonna open this. I mean, that is, I just can't believe how pigmented that mica powder is. And it's very dense. There's a lot in there. So I'm gonna start off by opening this bottle. And I am going to fill up my little 1/4 cup with the resin. And all the pigment paste is, it concentrates your, it concentrates for like the powder. Like if you want that a lot, if you want your resin to be really red, by using this powder, you'd have to use a lot, and by mixing it in the resin as you're making your project, you have to make sure you really mix it in so you don't have the clumps. This kind of eliminates that. So I'm going to get my stick that I'm going to use for my resin, and I'm going to add it to, I'm not going to add all of it, I just want to add some of it to my little jar here. By doing it with this, it kind of keeps the cross-contamination of other colors. So that's going to sit there. Now I'm going to start adding my powder, and this is where the measuring comes in. I don't know how pigmented this red is, so I'm going to start off with, we'll do 4 big scoops. And now I'm going to get this one. Let me move this out of the way. Okay, I'm going to add some more resin because I can see that I don't have enough in there. I'm going to end up using all of this in this cup and a little bit more. But I want to get it started first. I have my little paper down just to save on the cleanup. And I'm doing it this way so that the powder doesn't fly everywhere. See how that's looking? Looking nice. I mean, you could stop right there with as far as the pigment and the resin goes, but I don't want to stop there. I'm going to add some more. I'm going to add the rest of this resin in there. And I'll be adding more pigment too, because I want to fill my little jar up. I'm just going to incorporate it, then I'm going to bring my pestle in. Look how pretty that is. See how pigmented that is? I'm going to add some more in a minute. I'm going to get that off. Set that down. And get this in. Now all you do now is I'm just going to go in circular motions and I'm pressing. And I'm just going to keep mixing until the powder there's no clumps. I don't want any clumps. So I thought while I was mixing this up, I could go in and tell a couple little funny stories of my days as a police officer. And one of those are learning the buttons inside the police car. You're not trained, I mean, what kind of training would it be to know what kind of buttons you have? If I can find a picture of it, I'll post it somewhere on the screen of what I'm talking about, or at least something similar to what we had. And you had a panel in your car in the front. You know, you had when I was a police officer, you didn't have like a computer like they have today. It was this old, it's called a MDT. It's like DOS in there. So our department was one of the last ones to get like up-to-date stuff. And but anyway, you had a bunch of switches. You had your siren, and you can change the tone of the siren to go high, low, to do the little whoop whoop and all that other good stuff. And you had another button that would do like an air horn. And they're all in our car. It was all little like metal switches that you'd flip, you know, or that I remember. It's been a while. And then you had like your takedown lights, which is just a big bright lights that would light up like the front of the car. And you had a switch that would light up like the left side of the car or the right side of the car. You had what was blackout lights. And that's like you hit that and it would turn off your brake lights. And I'm trying to remember what kind of switches that you had in there. But basically those were your switches in your car. And the majority of my time was working midnights and afternoons. And so a lot of times it was in the dark. We were riding around in the dark. And I was a new officer, and we're looking for somebody. We're going real slow down an alley, and you know, trying to be quiet. So we had our blackout lights on. So whenever we hit the brake lights, the tail light brake lights wouldn't light up. You know, because we're trying to be stealthy. We're trying to catch the bad guy. And the senior officer in the car told me to light up, I forget if it was either the left side or the right side, with the takedown light, the bright light. So I'm like, okay. So I hit the switch, and instead of the light coming on, the light left side or the right side, the bright light, so that coming on, I hit the air horn. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with how loud those air horns are on that police car. That's loud. So there went our stealth. So we didn't catch the bad guy. My partner just goes like, well, there goes that, and turned off the blackout lights, turned on the headlights, and we continued about on our way. I felt so stupid. But how was I supposed to know? I mean, you're in a dark car. You got no lights. You're in a dark alley. And those switches were something that you memorized. You ended up committing those switches by memory. So that was funny. There goes that. So see how that's mixing up really nice? Yeah, so we all make mistakes out there. Thankfully, my mistakes weren't, for the most part, life and death mistakes. They were just innocent, not innocent, but that was an innocent little rookie mistake. But my mistakes weren't like big. I told you my one big mistake. That was the big one. So now, see how smooth that turned out? I don't see any clumps in there at all. None. And I was given pressure. And one thing good about the mortar is as you're pressing on all sides and the bottom. And I tilt the cup, the mortar, and I just really press that down in there. So that one's good. So now I'm going to take this and I'm just going to scrape off the pigment off the pestle part, because that's good stuff there. I have another story to tell you about those stupid switches. So, but I'll tell you in a minute. So you're just going to continue scraping this off. I mean, you're not going to get all of it off, obviously. Not anyway. I don't anyway. I don't shoot to get all of it off, just the majority. So that's good. I'm going to set that down. Get my little container. I already have it labeled pure red. And I'm going to get my... I'm not going to shoot for the little spout. That's just harder to clean later on. And I'm just going to start pouring it in to my container. Like so. And this is an inexpensive way to build up your stash of pigment pastes. I mean, we all have our favorite branded pigment pastes, but these are no different. And you can get mica powders that don't have shimmer, like if you don't want the shimmer to make your pigment paste. I want to make sure I got this jar, because this jar cup can get kind of slippery when you got your gloves on. I don't want to drop it. So I'm just going to scrape this out as best I can, because I'm going to add some more. I'm going to do some more of this. And scoop it in there. Not going to be too precious with it right now, but okay. So that's what I got so far. And now I'm going to fill up this again. I'm not going to fill this all the way up like I did the first time, a quarter cup. I'm just going to almost fill it up, but not like I did. About right there. And again, I'm going to get this one. I'm going to add some in there. I'm going to get my little measuring spoon. I'm going to add 4 or 5 scoops in there. I mean, I could add all this in there, but there's no need to. This is really pigmented stuff here. So now I'm going to mix that in like I did the first one. Okay, now that the powder is all incorporated, I don't have any loose powder floating around. I'm trying to keep the mess contained a little bit. Now I'm going to start with the same thing with the mortar. and I'm pressing as I'm going in a circular motion. So the next little thing with these switches, now I had a little bit of time on the job, and I would say I had about a year, a little over a year on the job. I was working with this one officer, and he graduated from the academy. I don't know, he was in the academy when I was in the academy, but he graduated about 4 or 5 months after I did. So we ended up working together, and we were working afternoons, and he was the officer that responded to the child that fell out of that third-story window. Same officer. And so we were working afternoons, and we would because you've seen so much negative stuff out there while you're on patrol, and you just, you needed to take a mental break while you're out there. So we used to like to go to the river, this beautiful big river, and we would sit and we would look. We would have Canada would be on the other side of the river, and we used to sit there and fill out our activity sheet, what we had done in the last couple hours, filling in the names, the locations, time, stuff like that, because you have to document everything that you do out there, everybody you talk to, every call you go to, everything is documented. And so that's what we would do. And he was driving, and I was in the passenger seat, and we were sitting out there, and there was a lot of, you'd have a lot of ladies of the evening would take their Johns to that location, so it was kind of like serving two purposes, being a presence in that area, and also, like I said, taking a little mental break. So we would roll through there, and we would put our blackout lights on, so that they couldn't see us hitting our brake lights, because we caught a lot of criminal activity going on in that area. So he put the car in park, and I'm sitting there. He's watching the water, watching looking over into Canada, and I'm filling out the activity log, and we get done, and we get ready to go. Now, my husband was a sergeant, same department, but at a different precinct, but we were on the same channel, like whatever was going on in his precinct, we would hear on our radio, and whatever was going on in our precinct, they'd hear on the same channel, same police channel. So, and when I was working, I always worked the same car code. You always had the same car code. I was assigned to a specific area. So that car code, when it came out on the radio, anybody who knew me and knew what car I was in, that car code that's me in that car. And my husband knew my car code, and I knew his code. And, so, it's just something that you get to know who people are by their codes. So we're getting ready to leave, and my partner goes to put the car in drive, and the car doesn't move. He can't even get the gear shift into drive. And he's trying, and he was so funny. And he started to panic, and he's jerking on that gear shift, and he's trying, and I'm looking at him like, this guy's lost his mind. Like, what is wrong with you? He's like, the car won't go. I can't get the car in drive. I can't get the car in drive. And I'm like, well, let's just call somebody, because maybe the car broke down. And he's no. We'll figure it out. And I could not, for the life of me, figure out why this guy was freaking out. Why he was stressed. And I mean, and the way he was jerking on that gear shift, trying to get it in the drive, it was hilarious. And then I'm like, hey, what is going on? And he's like, if you call for help, your husband's going to think, there's something going on because of where we were parked. And I'm like, what? He ain't going to think that. He goes, he'll kick my butt and all this. It was so funny. So now he got me panicked. We didn't do anything. We're not doing anything wrong. And I'm like, okay, calm down, calm down. So I get my flashlight out and we're looking, and I'd seen that switch was down. So I flipped the switch up, the blackout lights, and he tried it, and that's how we found out that the car will not go into, once you put the car in park with those blackout lights on, you're not going to get that car to drive, in the drive. And I was laughing. I was like, that had you so stressed out, He goes, just the look of it, it was so funny. I was like, oh my goodness, this guy, but I guess he was worried about it. I wasn't worried about it, I knew I wasn't doing anything wrong. My husband knew I wasn't doing anything wrong. I guess the optics of it wouldn't look good, but it was funny. So that's how you learn that kind of stuff, and it kind of sticks with you. So that was another thing. And I was talking to my husband about it, and he said that when they did install that switch, because it wasn't always part of the package that the police would get, I guess there was a lot of people that would call because their car, they couldn't get it to go into drive. And he said that eventually it was common for senior officers to know when they arrived to look for that switch to make sure that it wasn't engaged. So we weren't the only ones that happened to, thankfully, because that was funny to see the way he was jerking. And he kind of looked like, I don't know, he had he was bald. He was funny. The expressions on his face that he would make, the shocked expressions would have me dying laughing. And this was fear. He was scared my husband was going to beat him up. That was too funny. So yeah, you kind of learn those buttons and those switches. So didn't forget that one either. So I learned where the air horn was, and I learned what the takedown light, the blackout lights do. So we're gonna pour this, if you can see how nice and smooth that is. It's just bubbles. It's not. There is no clumps. I gotta get a hold of this jar better. I'm so afraid I'm gonna drop it, and I have a glass heat mat underneath. I don't want to drop it on there. There, I got a better grip. Now I'm going to fill up. Hopefully, I always worried that I made too much, but so far I haven't. Watch my on camera, I do. But it's going to fill all the way up. But I'll try to have everything linked that I'm using, if I can find it. But yeah. So I want to thank you for hanging out with me. If you have any questions or comments, please leave in the comment section. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Your comments and your likes really help my channel, helps YouTube know that people are engaging with my channel. To my subscribers, I truly appreciate you. I could not do this without you. Seriously, I could not do this without you. You guys make it worth me turning on the camera. That is the truth. I hope you like my stories. Let me know if you enjoy my stories. If you'd like me to continue telling them, I gladly tell my stories to you. And there is, let me wipe off the sides of this bottle where I store it. And this is my red pigment paste. Isn't that pretty? So there it is. So until next time, you guys have a great day and God bless. Bye.